Where at?
I think it was an AALC.
I had a beer in my hand at MIT. Really years of training, I was like, look at this.
I don't think it was MIT. I think it was AALC.
Let's see how far back we can go. This guy. Okay, now I know what I can do. Don't take care of yeah, they got it. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, so you recently looked at like one of the Wall Street? Yeah, so you know where he's at.
Bless you. Bless you.
Oh, man.
So we're going to have a kind of a different type of weekend. Shaq is in Boston speaking for Sam and Debianka, which I think they're under Richie Falcone. So he's going to have a good time out there. He took care of. And then T and Shay, Sophia and her mom are going to be at MIT tomorrow, which is amazing. That's going to be a great thing. A lot of times people say that, excited today? Yeah. Yeah. All right. A lot of times people say that's the best meeting that they do in Primerica. So that's a huge thing to look forward to. You guys are going to come back fired up. So a couple things that I want to talk about today. I'm not going to take the whole time just because it's only me training. But Shaq wanted me to go over a couple of things that me and him have been talking about. How many recruits you have for the month? 2, right? I'm only at 4 or 5. How many you have? 1.5, right? How many you have? 4. So this is something that we need to talk about. That's not an area of the business where we want to start to flounder. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We have licensing class tomorrow, so that is still going to be happening. Make sure that you get everybody there when Ratna comes in. I don't see her in here. We'll have her talk a little bit about that. Ricky, we're going to go for that tomorrow, right? I'm probably not going to do an orientation tomorrow because we are going to be short on trainers, obviously, because the leaders, a lot of them are going to be gone tomorrow. We also have the incentive going on for the haunted forest. So what is that? 3 directs or 1,500 upgrades. So we'll talk about that before we get out of here as well. And then so there's a couple things I want to talk about today. Anyone ever read this book? Right? You read it? Okay. What'd you feel like the premise of this book was?
Identifying your why. What's important to you? Why?
Okay. I'm halfway through the book, and I never picked up this book because that's what I thought it was about. Now, it may get to that at the end, so I'm not saying that, that everybody interprets things really differently. But the reason I didn't pick up this book was because the whole why thing, like, I'm a single guy, I don't have wife and kids and all that. For me, a why is, to be honest, it's a little bit difficult outside of buying nice things, going nice places. hooking my mom up, eating where I want to eat. You know what I mean? It's not, there's not a strong, it's the real thing that pushes me is just a strong desire to be successful and accomplish something and not be a waste of a human being and get better. You know what I mean? So for me, when I saw this title, this isn't stuff that really motivates me. I don't like getting super emotional. That's just not me. When I picked up the book though, I realized that that's my interpretation of what he's talking about in the first, through the first half. That's not what he's talking about. That is not what he's talking about. He's talking about as a corporation, as a company, when you are out there selling, and as a company, the message that you're putting out there, the customer has to know the why of your company, because that is why they buy. That is how you build brand loyalty, and that is how you get around price, value, and even customer service. And it was freaking mind-blowing to me, and my head has been spinning since I started reading this book. I'm going to start calling leaders around the company that I know to get some insight on how I can change the way that I approach the presentation of Primerica, the presentation of our products, the presentation of our recruiting opportunity, to make sure that I lead with why first, okay? Now, I just read through what I just have to share this. I mean, I want it, you know, sometimes I read these books and I feel like, man, if I could just do a 1-2 hour live book report on what I'm reading, I think that it could just help a lot of people, because I don't think people are reading, right? Especially as much as me, probably, right? And I mean, I read Grit, I read these amazing books this year, and this one, I don't even want to wait to actually complete the book. I want to talk to you, I want to plant the seed that is planted in my mind, because maybe it'll have an impact on you starting today, and then you can go forward and get better results. And then when I complete the book, I'll go through it again. But this is going to be really jumbled. Let me just read to you some of the things. Elsa, have you read this? Right? Let me just read to you some of the things that I've highlighted. It may or may not make sense, okay? But just listen to what he's saying. There are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it, or you can inspire it. When I mention manipulation, that is not necessarily pejorative. It's very common and a fairly benign tactic. Okay? In fact, many of us have been doing it since we were young. I'll be your best friend is the highly effective negotiating tactic employed by generations of children to obtain something they want from a peer. Okay? From business to politics, manipulations run rampant in all forms of sales and marketing. Typical manipulations include dropping the price, running a promotion, using fear, peer pressure, or aspirational messages, and promising innovation to influence behavior, be it a purchase, vote, or just support. When companies or organizations do not have a clear sense of why their customers are their customers, they tend to rely on a disproportionate number of manipulations to get what they need. And for good reason. Manipulations work, right? So he talks about the different manipulations that you can use to try to obtain a client as a company. So he says, price. Many companies are reluctant to play the price game, but they do so because they know it is effective. So effective, in fact, that the temptation can sometimes be overwhelming. There are a few professional services firms that, when faced with an opportunity to land a big piece of business, haven't just dropped their price to make the deal happen. Playing the price game, however, can come at a tremendous cost and can create a significant dilemma for the company. For the seller, selling brand on price is like heroin. The short-term gain is fantastic, but the more you do it, the harder it becomes to kick the habit. Once buyers get used to paying a lower than average price for a product or service, it's very hard to get them to pay more. and the sellers, facing overwhelming pressure to push prices lower and lower in order to compete, find their margins cut slimmer and slimmer. This only drives a need to sell more to compensate. And the quickest way to do this is to drive down the price again. And so the downward spiral of price addiction sets in. In the drug world, these addicts are called junkies. In the business world, we call them commodities. Insurance, home computers, mobile phone service, any number of packaged goods. The list of commodities created by the price game goes on and on. In nearly every circumstance, the companies that are forced to treat their products as commodities brought it upon themselves. Promotions, right? And they talk about different promotions. We'll give you money back, things like that. They talk about rebates. They talk about fear-based selling. They talk about aspirational messages, peer pressure, other people are doing it, novelty. There's a big difference between repeat business and loyalty. Repeat business is when you do business, when people do business with you multiple times. Loyalty is when people are willing to turn down a better product or better price to continue doing business with you. Really? Is there a way for that to happen?
Yeah.
Right? Where people will they will go through inconvenience, they'll even pay more just to continue doing business with you. Whereas you thought, oh, it's all about price and service, which is what I thought too. Manipulations lead to transactions, not loyalty. Manipulations are a perfectly valid strategy for driving a transaction or any behavior that is required once or on rare occasions. The rewards the police use are designed to incentivize witnesses to come forward to provide tips or evidence that may lead to an arrest. And like any promotion, the manipulation will work if the incentive feels high enough to mitigate the risk. In any circumstance in which a person or organization wants more than a single transaction, however, if there is hope for loyal, long-lasting relationship, manipulations do not help. Okay? So he's saying there's a different perspective now. The alternative perspective is not just useful for changing the world, there are practical applications for the ability to inspire as well. So he's talking about inspiration. It can be used as a guide to vastly improving leadership, corporate culture, hiring, product development, sales, and marketing. It even explains loyalty and how to create enough momentum to turn an idea into a social movement. And it all starts from the inside out. It all starts with why, okay? Before we can explore its applications, let me first define the terms, starting from the outside of the circle and moving inward, okay? So he talks about the what, the how, and the why of every business, okay? And the circle that he draws looks like this. So he says the why is here, the how is here, and the what is here. And as I keep reading, this will make more sense to you guys. So he says the what. Every single company and organization on the planet knows what they do. This is true no matter how big or small, no matter what the industry. Everyone is easily able to describe the products or services a company sells or the job function they have within the system. What's are easy to identify. The how. Some companies and people know how they do what they do. Whether you call them a differentiating value proposition, proprietary process, or unique selling proposition, hows are often given to explain how something is different or better. Not as obvious as what's. Many think these are differentiating or motivating factors in a decision. It would be false to assume that's all that is required. There is one missing detail, and that's why. Very few people or companies can clearly articulate why they do what they do. When I say why, I don't mean make money. That's a result. But why, I mean what is your purpose, cause, or belief? Why does your company exist? Why do you get out of bed every morning? And why should anyone care? When most organizations or people think, act, or communicate, they do so from the outside in, from what to why, and for good reason. They go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. We say what we do, sometimes we say how we do it, but we rarely say why we do what we do. Think in terms of financial services. Think in terms of recruiting, right? We recruit people because you can override, because you can make money off them, right? That's the what and the how. We do financial services. We do it for the middle class. We do it through part-timers. That's the what. That's the how, right? But what they're saying is people respond to that you can build a more loyal client base, and they'll overlook everything else if they believe in your why, right? I was just looking up this guy who opened up a couple of new restaurants. One of them was the one that you told me about, District Barbecue. So this is a guy that's, I think he's a couple years, no, he's Shaq's age. And I was telling Shaq, because I looked up that restaurant, I saw the owner. It's actually a guy that, I didn't know him, but he grew up in the same community as us. And anytime someone grows up in the same community as us and they're doing something big, like I want to look them up, see who they are, maybe potentially support their business. And I was talking to Shaq, and he said, man, I remember that guy. This guy now is friends with Bill Clinton. He has a huge nonprofit. He has multiple restaurants around the country. He travels around the world. He has a consulting firm. I mean, it's amazing what this guy has accomplished. He's very, very successful. So Shaq said, I interviewed this guy in like 2006, like maybe 2006 or 7. And we kind of went back and forth. He said that he used to be a realtor at the time. He had worked for New York Life. They kind of argued about life insurance, whatever. And I was telling Shaq that this guy has a new restaurant in Georgetown called Falafel Inc. or something like that. And it has a line out the door, right? And what the article in Washington Post was saying was that people are going there. Yes, it's great falafel. Okay, he's Arab. It's great falafel. People, do you think when people said, hey, let's go there, they were like, wait, how much does it cost? Wait, how long is the wait? Wait, should I read the reviews? No, they went for the why. And to me, I'm starting to think that's where it's at, right? The base shops, even network marketing companies. When you look at network marketing companies, they have their what and their how is completely irrelevant. No one even knows anything about the products, but it's the why. It's that we are building a business. It's that we believe in passive income. We believe in ownership. Now, we believe in all the same things in Primerica, but sometimes we lead stronger with the what and the how. We're trying to be financial advisors and be compared to other financial services companies versus why we do what we do, okay? Now, this is just me. I'm not saying maybe you guys lead strongly with why, right? But this is just stuff that affected me when I read this. If Apple were like most other companies, a marketing message from them would move from the outside in of the golden circle, which is this. It would start with some statement of what the company does or what it makes, followed by how they think they are different or better, followed by some call to action. With that, the company would expect some behavior in return, in this case, a purchase. A marketing message from Apple, if they were like everyone else, would sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, user-friendly, want to buy one. It's not a very compelling sales pitch, but that's how most companies sell to us. This is the norm. They first start with what they do. Here's our new car. Then they tell us how they do it or how they are better. It's got leather seats, great gas mileage, and great financing. And then they make a call to action and expect behavior. You see this pattern in business-to-consumer markets as well as business-to-business environments. Here's our law firm. Our lawyers went to the best schools, and we represent the biggest clients. Hire us. This pattern is also alive and well in politics. Here's the candidate. Here's his or her views on taxes and immigration. See how she's different? Vote for her. In every case, the communication is organized in an attempt to convince someone of a difference of superior value, right? But that's not what inspiring leaders and organizations do. I'm boring some of you guys, but I want you to get this. Every one of them, okay, That's not what inspiring leaders do. Every one of them, regardless of size or industry, thinks, acts, and communicates from the inside out. Let's look at Apple again and rewrite the example in the order Apple actually communicates. This time the example starts with why. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. And we happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? I mean, think about it. He goes on and on and on about Apple. People like Mac go crazy because it's like they're behind technologically, right? They do the same thing as everyone else. It's not worth the price. It's not a good deal. Nobody cares. Everybody still buys, right? Because what? They're leading with the why, right? I think this is amazing. It's stuff that we kind of know, but we didn't know how, right? It's a completely different message. It actually feels different from the first one. We're much more eager to buy a computer from Apple after reading the second version. And all I did was reverse the order of information. There's no trickery, no manipulation, no free stuff, no aspirational messages, no celebrities. Apple doesn't simply reverse the order of information. Their message starts with why, a purpose, cause, or belief that has nothing to do with what they do. What they do, the products they make, from computers to small electronics, no longer serve as the reason to buy. They serve as tangible proof of their cause. The design and user interface of Apple products, though important, are not enough in themselves to generate such astounding loyalty among their customers. Others can hire top designers and brilliant engineers and make beautiful, easy-to-use products and copy the things Apple does. And they could even steal away Apple's employees to do it, but the result would not be the same. Simply copying what Apple does or how it is won't work. There's something more, something hard to describe, near impossible to copy that gives Apple such a disproportionate level of influence in the market. The example starts to prove that people don't buy what you do, they buy how you do it. Why you do it, right? So think about it. This is what's swirling around in my brain. When I sit down with a client, not over talk for an hour, right? But maybe, and I know a lot of people do this, I kind of throw it in there, but maybe I can get more. Again, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to implement these changes, but maybe it's the Art Williams story. I know all of you guys do that as part of the presentation, but talking about why we were created, why we're different, why our company was founded, why we've had so much success. And you think about Art Williams founding this company on a concept. I mean, the rating of our insurance company was C. Right now, we get nervous if we see an A- somewhere, right? Our rating as an insurance company was C. Right now, we're trying to go on a blitz to get 150,000 licensed agents. We have 120. He had 220,000 back then. Why? Because it's the best product? No, actually the product wasn't great. It was a concept, it was a movement, and it was all about why, right? It was all about why. As a company, not just your personal why. Right? You can say, hey, I'm doing this for my kids or whatever, but again, that's not what he's talking about. From a business standpoint, you have to lead with why, and people get a feeling. They follow that feeling. If you talk about what and how, you're catering to the rational side of them. It's not the emotional side of them. You know, what I really liked about this was he talked about when you talk about what and how, you are basically a commodity, right? And when you are a commodity, all that matters is price and service compared to everybody else. That's what you relegate yourself to. I'm telling you, that's the worst type of business to be in. When all you're thinking about is, am I cheaper than the other companies? Am I simply better than the other companies? Are our products better than the other companies? Is our service better than the other companies? Is the people we hire better than the other companies? I mean, that is the lowest form of sales in the world. If you want to get away from that, from what the book is saying and what I'm headed towards, you got to make sure that you focus on why we do what we do, right? When I get good enough at this, I'm going to straight up tell the clients that we're more expensive, right? I'm going to straight up say, no, it's not. You will find cheaper. There's a lot of companies cheaper, but this is why. And they're going to follow me because if they share the same values and beliefs that I do according to this book, I'm going to have loyalty, right? This last part I want to go over is pretty interesting as well. When a company clearly communicates their why, what they believe, and we believe what they believe, then we will sometimes go to extraordinary lengths to include those products or brands in our lives. This is not because they are better, but because they become markers or symbols of the values and beliefs we hold dear. Those products and brands make us feel like we belong, and we feel a kinship with others who buy the same things. Fan clubs started by customers are often formed without any help from the company itself. These people form communities in person or online, not just to share their love of a product with others, but to be in the company of people like them. Their decisions have nothing to do with the company or its products. They have everything to do with the individuals themselves. Our natural need to belong also makes us good at spotting things that don't belong. It's a sense we get, a feeling, something deep inside us, something we can't put into words, allows us to feel some things just fit and some things just don't, okay? And he talks about this. Dell selling MP3 players just doesn't feel right because Dell defines itself as a computer company, so the only thing that belongs are computers. Apple defines itself as a company on a mission, and so anything they do that fits that definition feels like it belongs. We are drawn, think about this as a person, right? We are drawn to leaders and organizations that are good at communicating what they believe. Their ability to make us feel like we belong, to make us feel special, safe, and not alone is part of what gives them the ability to inspire us. Gut decisions don't happen in your stomach. The principle of the golden circle are much more than a communications hierarchy, which is what this is. It's principles that are deeply grounded in the evolution of human behavior. I'm going to wrap up with this, but I want to talk about this. The power of why is not opinion, it's biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain from the top down, you see that the levels of the golden circle correspond precisely with the 3 major levels of the brain. The newest area of the brain, our Homo sapien brain, is the neocortex, which corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for rational and analytical thought and language. The middle 2 sections comprise of the limbic brain. The limbic brain is responsible for all of our feelings, such as trust and loyalty. It is also responsible for all human behavior and all our decision making, but it has no capacity for language. Okay, so listen to this. When we communicate from the outside in, right, when we communicate what we do first, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like facts and features, but it does not drive behavior. But when we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls decision making, and our language part of the brain allows us to rationalize those decisions. The part of the brain that controls our feelings has no capacity for language. It is this disconnection that makes putting our feelings into words so hard. We have trouble, for example, explaining why we married the person we married. We struggle to put into words the real reasons why we love them, so we talk around it, we rationalize it. She's funny, she's smart, we start. But there's a lot of funny and smart people in the world, but we don't love them all, and we don't want to marry them. There's obviously more to falling in love than just personality and competence. Rationally, we know our explanation isn't the reason. It's how our loved ones made us feel, but those feelings are really hard to put into words. So when pushed, we talk around it. The same is true for other decisions. When a decision feels right, we have a hard time explaining why we did what we did. Again, the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. This complicates the value of polls or market research, right? Decision-making and the ability to explain those decisions exist in different parts of the brain. This is where gut decisions come from. They just feel right. There's no part of the stomach that controls decision-making. It all happens in the limbic brain. It's not an accident that we use the word feel to explain those decisions either. Our limbic brain is powerful enough to drive behavior that sometimes contradicts our rational and analytical understanding of a situation, right? So if we feel right, we'll override the logic behind something, okay? We often trust our gut even if the decision flies in the face of all facts and figures. When you force people to make decisions with only the rational part of their brain, they almost invariably end up overthinking. These rational decisions tend to take longer to make and can often be of lower quality. Listen to everything that we do, guys. Listen to the sentence again, okay? This is Chris Royce said something a while ago, and it was like, I was like, wow. He said, if you've been in Primerica 10 years and you've had a team, you should have a psychology degree. What's he saying? That it's how we learn about ourselves and other people, that's what determines our success to a large extent, right? Listen to the sentence again about why you're confused when everything makes sense to people, why they don't join, why they don't buy. I'll read it again. When you force people to make decisions with only the rational parts of their brain, they almost invariably end up overthinking. These rational decisions tend to take longer to make and can often be of lower quality. You're wondering, you're an idiot. Why are you not buying? Why are you not changing? This is whole life. Buy term invested difference. It's every benefit. You hate your job. Why aren't you joining? It's not going to cost you barely any money. The upside is all there, right? Why? Because we are catering to the rational side of their brain. In contrast, decisions made with the limbic brain, gut decisions, tend to be faster, higher quality decisions. This is one of the primary reasons why teachers tell students to go with their first instinct when taking multiple choice tests, to trust their gut. The more time spent thinking about the answer, the bigger the risk is that it may be wrong. Our limbic brains are smart and often know the right thing to do. It is our inability to verbalize the reasons that may cause us to doubt ourselves, to trust the empirical evidence when our gut tells us not to. People don't buy what you do, and here, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. A failure to communicate why creates nothing but stress or doubt. In contrast, many people are drawn to buy Mac computers or Harley-Davidson motorcycles, for example, don't need to talk to anyone about which brand to choose. They feel the utmost confidence in their decision, and the only decision they ask is which Mac or which Harley. At that level, the rational features and benefits, facts and figures, absolutely matter, but not to drive the decision to give money or loyalty to the company or brand. So they've already decided what company they want to do business with because they believe in the why, then the what and how actually matters. That decision is already made. The tangible features are simply to help direct the choice of product that fits our needs. Those decisions started with why, the emotional component of the decision, and then the rational components allowed the buyer to verbalize and rationalize the reasons they made their decision. This is what we mean when we talk about winning hearts and minds. The heart represents the limbic, feeling part of the brain. The mind is the rational language center. Most companies are adept at winning minds. All that requires is a comparison of features and benefits. Winning hearts, however, takes more work. And he says that's why it doesn't say set out to win minds and hearts. It always says hearts, then minds. Absent a why, a decision is harder to make. So I'm going to read, this obviously I'm just reading random paragraphs and things like that, but I want to really understand what he's talking about, probably read the book again in certain passages again. But the point is that, he says 3 parts. I'll just simplify. I'll say the brain is 2 parts, right? So there's the rational side, right? And then there's the emotional side. And when you talk numbers, price, years of term, right? Company credibility even, to be honest, all that's doing is it's talking to the rational side, right? And there's no feeling involved. This causes overthinking. It takes longer for them to make a decision, and usually they make a lower quality decision. If you talk less about that stuff, and we focus how to have a clear, we focus on how to communicate a clear why, we're going to get an emotional decision from them, which is a faster decision. It's a higher quality decision, right? And it's one that they can't even explain. The explaining part doesn't come from this side, it comes from this side. People will do business, they can't even explain why. But a lot of times I find we're on the opposite end of that, right? Because we're showing them all the rational reasons why they should join, why they should make a change with their products. They can't explain why they want to stay. We're on the wrong side of it.
I find this fascinating, but I also think you may not be exploring people who are not at all connected to their emotional side. I run into a lot of clients, and they actually don't want to make, they're almost fearful of their gut. They don't tune into their gut. I've seen people whose guts actually are not very...
yeah, but can you confidently say that you figured out what their values and beliefs were and that you catered to them?
So if they're very, very left-brained, they really trust that, and they don't trust any of the emotional. So you almost have to slow it down, let them read.
Well, one thing, obviously I'm just reading snippets of this. He said that, your job is not to create, I don't want, let me give you an example. So can you win everyone over using that model? Absolutely not. And that's why instinctively I've never liked hiring people that all they wanted to know is, are you guys the cheapest? Are you guys the cheapest? If you are, I want to buy it. Because it's just not going to win here. You know what I mean? So when you lead with why, you are going to attract what? More passionate customers, more passionate recruits, and these are people that are going to lead the mission. They're not going to quit fast. They're not going to get dejected and rejected. They're not going to get down because they understand the purpose. Does that make sense? So whether, was it you that texted me yesterday about the client, right? So he texted me yesterday and he's like, oh, this client's talking about I can do this online with my investments, and what about ETFs, and I'm getting this rate of return. That's not the purpose of Primerica. We're not trying to get those clients. We want to get people that want our help, right? That are willing to just kind of give us their investments, trust in us, believe in us, right? So you are right. It's not a strategy to win everybody, but it's a strategy to get the right people and to put yourself in a position where you're not being relegated to just talking about price and cost and value, because I absolutely hate doing that. I hate doing that. That's the worst part of sales. I don't want to be in a business where people are shopping me, they're quoting me. We, as professionals, we have to get to a point to where people are not, the vast majority of people we sit down with are not going to come behind us and try to find a better so-called deal, right? Now, that doesn't mean we don't have great products or anything like that. Apple has great products, but it's how we lead as an organization, right? And if we're going to be here long term, a lot of us, 20, 30 years, things are going to change in the industry. We are going to introduce new products. Some of the products, honestly, may be even outside of financial services, because before financial services were what? A distribution company, right? So if we lead with why, we're going to be able to integrate new products and services regardless of whether it has to do with finance or not.
I actually heard the Gas and 10 talk that I heard like a year ago.
And I heard it's the best, the #1 most listened to TED Talk in history.
So I would encourage everybody.
Yeah, I haven't even heard that yet. I just picked up this book. I'm halfway through it. I mean, it's unbelievable, the stuff that he's talking about. Pick up the book, but more importantly, when you go on appointments, when you have an interview today, talk about the why of recruiting, the why of Primerica. Lead with that. Just see if you can get a little bit better results. And you know what? It might actually even get more out of you, right? Do you like talking about facts and figures? That's like being a robot, right? It's like being a robot. You're talking facts and figures. You're talking basically about a Primerica job, right? And then you're relegating yourself to just another financial services company when you're in front of someone, and there's no emotion, and they make bad decisions, and everybody wants to think about it. Right. So, if you want to bring up that. Sure. This is actually pretty serious, these questions that you have to ask yourself, okay? The reason we have mentorship and we come to meetings and we put ourselves in a position where we can be criticized is because everybody needs alignment, right? So when you think about a car, you're driving, and when you take your hands off the wheel, the car is automatically going right or going left. It's not going straight anymore. And even if the alignment, when they check your alignment, they give you degrees that you're off by. If you're off by 1 or 2 degrees to the right, in the beginning you can't really tell, but 20 miles down the road, right, you're in a completely different city than where you're supposed to end up, or let's say you're in a plane or whatever. So getting aligned is very important. And I think that these questions, I made these a long time ago, and I've only done this training a couple of times, but really it's something that I look at to get realigned. Even as a leader, it doesn't matter how much money I make or what position I reach, which isn't really all that fantastic in the end anyways, even for me, but I have to remind myself that the things that I need to be thinking about, the things that I need to be focused on in order to stay in the creative stage, right? What happens is a lot of times people get into the management stage. Management, unless you're 20 wide and you have a big base shop, management can kill your business. The creative stage means that you are constantly involved in the recruitment of new people, in the development of new people, in the production side of the business. You're still in the field. You're actively growing yourself and your organization. Management, you can be, you're not really in the business, you're working on the business, and it can be dangerous because you're kind of telling people what to do. The new people that come in aren't seeing you produce. You may not have the same credibility anymore. Your leadership may fall. And then the scariest thing is when people stop responding to you, your production can go down, your business can go down, right? So these are things that I want to talk about right now. I guess we're just and everyone should be asking themselves these questions, right? This is a big one, what am I doing when no one's watching? This isn't for you to talk about with everyone. This is a question internally in your mind. What am I doing when nobody's watching? And your personal life is your personal life, right? I'm talking about what are you doing to improve yourself, right? Who are you actually spending time with? Is there any part of your schedule where you feel you could be more productive? We used to have a saying that, if you utilize 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., you'll kill everybody else. Most people, including myself, you're not that productive during that time. Now I go to bed at 12, but 10 to 12, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you reading? What thoughts are you putting in your mind? One of the best books that I read this year, is it called The Secrets of the Subconscious Mind? Right? Or is it Power of? Power of the Subconscious Mind? What does it talk about? What you put in your mind before you go to sleep and when you wake up, that's when your brain is the most vulnerable. What are you doing when nobody's watching? Some of you guys, it's very easy for you to be in a position where nobody's watching. Because you don't have a lot of recruits, you don't have a lot of accountability. If you're not producing, no one's really asking you anything or really even expecting anything of you. This is a great question for yourself. What are you doing when nobody's watching? Could you be prospecting? Could you be reading? Could you be making calls? When the leader puts out a message and says, hey, we need to do such and such, are you actually doing it? This is big. This is another reason why in the beginning we want people to be in the office more. We want people to be at meetings. We want them to be at the extra meetings because the assumption is when no one's watching, you're not really being that productive. How much prospecting do I do every single day? Every single day. Not just passively, not just when you're out, right? How much prospecting are you doing? We're talking about Facebook messages. People put out Facebook messages, right? How much time does it take to type out a Facebook message? I'm not on Facebook. I don't understand how it works, but what is it?
Copy paste.
Copy paste, right? 5 seconds? And that's not the first time we heard it. Jackie Ashford told us that when we went and visited her, I don't know, was that 2 years ago? Everybody does this. In a football game, 20, 30 million people are watching at any one point. That's how companies prospect. They spend money to get people to know about what they're doing. How many people on a daily basis are hearing about what Tara or Rebecca are doing with their lives? That's what you got to ask yourself. Right now, I've been getting a lot of phone calls, mail, email from SiriusXM. They're obviously on some type of mass marketing campaign. I'm getting spam in my actual mailbox, spam in my email, and now they figured out a way to cold call me from a local number. So I pick up every freaking time, and they're like, this is SiriusXM. This is what they're doing. But in a business, you have to be asking yourself, how much of this is going on? Now, if you're Shaquille, you know that you have 5, 6 RVPs, all of them have 30, 40, 50, 100 people under them, and those people are out talking to people. As a business, his business is doing enough prospecting on a daily basis, but is your business doing enough prospecting on a daily basis? Is it not true that every recruit and every sale came from some form of prospecting? You guys know Sheila, who's again at $6,000 a premium for the week, last month 10,000. The client that invested $300,000 with me on Monday. These all are 7, 8 years removed from a prospect. Existing clients, clients of recruits. I went to Manassas to pick up another check last night for $100,000, and I just thought about the neighborhood that I was in Manassas, no other financial advisor in that neighborhood, but hey, that client wrote me a check for $100,000. Where did that person come from? I recruited this person when she was 19 years old. Right? So this is something you really, we're always going to figure out other solutions to help us avoid doing what we have to do. You got to prospect. Is it going to be on Facebook? Is it going to be face-to-face? Is it going to be through resumes? Is it going to be through phone calls? Is it going to be through a warm market list? Is it going to be through steaming people? But this has to make up, especially in a small business, which most of us have, it has to make up a very large portion of our time. What is more important than that? Hey, by the way, when you interview someone, that's a form of prospecting. When you do an orientation and you're getting a list of 100, that's an unbelievable form of prospecting. Everything is prospecting. How much of that is happening in your business? Right? Are we being active or are we being reactive? If we're at, as an organization, all the leaders in this room, including Shaq, I think he's only got a couple recruits. If all of us collectively are at 10, 12, 15, and I look around the company, people are already at 60, 70 recruits, we're not actively prospecting, we're reacting. We're waiting until we go on an appointment. Maybe the client wants to, 1 out of every 3 or 4 want to join. Maybe a couple from last month called us back, right? We're not actively going out there and trying to push this. And that's what Shaq wants to talk about is what kind of recruiting goal can we set from now until the end of the year to really move into 2018 with a lot of momentum, okay? I want you to think about this as I go through this training. We'll get back to it. Do we want to have a district leader promotion goal as an office, right? Do we want to just have a recruit goal? Do we want to have a licensing goal? Do we want to have an attendance goal? Maybe we want to have all of them. But this is not the time to let our foot off the gas for recruiting because people are learning how to produce and make money. All of that's coming to an end if you don't get the recruiting goal. Even the people producing came as recruits. So even if we want to have our next batch of $10,000 producers, it ain't going to happen unless we get the recruiting going. Prospect through the people that you know. Prospect people that you don't know. But have every day, again, this is a full-timer conversation. Maybe you're at school all day, it doesn't apply to you, fine, I'm not talking to you. But it's still something you need to understand about business. And for the people who are full-time, this should make up the majority of your business. How much effort do I put into finding an appointment when I don't have one? This is something that Shaq talks about all the time. You got to fight to get yourself on an appointment. If you are on less than 6 new appointments a week, you have no, and even 6, it's like, that's just a couple hours a week. But I hear people being overly stringent on the kind of appointments or people are setting when it's like, dude, you just got to get your ass out of the office. Go meet with single people. Go do the unqualified ones. Don't intentionally set it up that way, but that's a lot better than you sitting in the office and doing nothing. Shaq called me yesterday. He's like, hey, I have this new guy. I'm really excited about it. Right? Shaq asked my advice. I asked him, you know, at this point, we're only a year apart in the business. And he said, I got this new guy. I'm really excited about it. He's a good guy. He's qualified. But he set up a bunch of appointments. Some of them are not in the home. Some of them the spouses aren't there. What do you think I should do? Should I just reschedule them all? And I said, well, it's up to you when you actually get there whether you want to conduct an appointment, but just go. Go and meet the people. Go build rapport with the people. And mainly, go spend time with this guy. And after that one day, you'll say, look, the results weren't there. I knew this was going to happen, but I just want to spend the time with you. I want to show you that I'm committed to helping you. But this is why we say, you know, 5-pointers, 4-pointers in the home. And he did exactly that. He's like, the guy, I didn't have to say it, the guy said it himself. He's like, okay, I get it why you guys do what you do. But he got to spend time with the guy. That's Shaq. He was out all day yesterday. He went to Woodbridge, he went to Alexandria, I don't know where else he went, right? Don't be too picky with your, go out and see people. Ian taught us on Friday night how to sell. I mean, I think most of us knew that, but him just saying that with confidence that you should be selling single people too. I mean, you can get a life ad. Go practice. Go out there. My first 20, 30 appointments, field training, were in a market where the people, they were Hispanic, they didn't speak English. And I had someone translating for me, but the fact that I could do the presentation 20, 30 times and I didn't have to have the fear of criticism, that's how I got good at doing the appointment. I was like, oh, they're not going to understand me, you're brand new, you're unlicensed. I just did it. You got to fight to be on appointment. Right? You can't just be, hey, if I have it, I have it, if I don't, I don't. I'm talking to full-timers right now. You got to be in front of people. You have to run the Primerica schedule. Right? If you find yourself, you know, at the gym, out to dinner, you know, at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I mean, you are dead in this business. You got to be out. That's the system that we're running. You got to be running around. Tonight I'm meeting with Sheila and a bunch of new recruits at Tyson's at 6. Then she set another appointment at 8. I mean, I like being out at night. It makes me feel like I'm doing Primerica. What am I doing on the nights that I don't have an appointment? Shaq always talks about this. Are you just going home? Are you watching sports? Let me tell you something, man. You have to live your life within a reward-punishment system. Let me tell you something else. Self-improvement is not a substitute for not going on appointments. Nice try. Oh, I read 2 chapters. That's what 6:30 in the morning is for. What can we do on nights we don't have appointments? Tell me, guys. Tommy D, who is now making 50 grand a month, 60 grand a month, says that on nights that he didn't have appointments, he would call every one of his securities clients and say, hey, this is how much your pack is. Would you be interested in putting more towards retirement? Even that. Look at the global list of clients that you have from Client Account Manager. Recall all of them. Look at your daily blast from the beginning of the year for the first 10 months. Look at every client you got. Call all of them. Talk about referrals. Talk about their plans. See if there's anything you can do. Say, I'm just checking in. Work on your business. But if you have this outside life that you're living out as a full-timer outside of Primerica, you're always going to follow the path of least resistance. You know? Because where are those friends? They're at the bar, right? Hey, if I don't have the appointment, I'll be there. Well, that appointment ain't happening if that's the mentality that you have. Trust me.
You said live your life with a reward punishment system? What do you mean?
Okay. So what that means is the things that you want to do that are considered fun and not business, you have to earn those times. Okay? So your brain, if you start rewarding yourself when you're not doing what you need to do, your brain, it starts to get jumbled as far as your goals. Okay? So your brain, when you reward yourself and you tap into the pleasure center of your brain after you do something that you're supposed to be doing, your brain is going to reinforce that. Okay? But when you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you get bored, then you go to the mall, you don't prospect, but you buy something you don't have money for, you're rewarding yourself, right? Or you go to the bar, you spend money that you don't have, or you go and hang out, or or you have a negative conversation with somebody. That is negative reinforcement. You want positive reinforcement, right? Like me and Matt were joking around because, we're really into food. So he's like, man, this steakhouse that's in Loudon, they have a tomahawk ribeye. You ever seen that? Yeah. Freaking crazy, right? So it's a big ass piece of ribeye steak. Right? And and they don't take the bone off, so when you get it, it looks like a tomahawk. Okay? And usually it's $100, $150 just for one thing. And so he's like, oh yeah, they have that tomahawk ribeye, right? What's the first thing I said? When we hit a goal, we'll go. That's how everything works. You guys see the old laptop that I have, right? And I might have to give it to this one, but Shaq's like, yeah, when you do 50 grand, I'll buy you. I was like, man, I can buy my own laptop, right? But once he said that, I felt like I couldn't violate it.
Yeah.
Because even something as small as that, right? Going to a dinner, doing that, it's just like everything, and it's with my recruits as well. People say, oh, we should go, Nobu. Have you heard of Nobu, right? This place is amazing. I've always wanted to go there. It's in Vegas, it's in LA, it's in Beverly Hills. They just opened up a new location in DC. It's a really big deal. I'm not just gonna go there because I want to go there. I gotta think to myself, how can I reward myself when I go there, right? What can I do productive on a night that I don't have an appointment? Who can I spend time with from my team? Who can I tell to meet me at the office and we can make calls? You know, when your team thinks that you are extreme in certain ways, yeah, it's going to turn some people off, but also what it's going to do, right? Let's say that their intensity scale, right? This is super intense, this is no intensity. Let's say the person you hire is here, right? Now, Elsa, they see you, and it's like every time you call them, you're talking about Primerica. Every time they call you, you're doing something Primerica, right? Even if it's late at night, they see you reading, they get in your car, they hear an audio, and it's like, you don't want to skip. Sometimes, and I know this is very weak, but people think like this, ooh, they're going to think I'm too much into this, right? But here's what's wrong with that, is that, see, if you can show them a super intense side, yeah, they might say, I never want to be like that. I never want to just listen to these audios. I don't want to give up friends and music and parties, but it's going to move them over a little bit, and that's what we want, right? But if you're here, they don't do that, then they go here. If not at all, because it's not a big enough difference. So call your people, ask them if they can, you know, with Sheila, she's super busy. I know when her day off is, and I ask her, hey, can I come to you? I go there, I bring lunch. A lot of times her husband works from home the same day, you know, I go there, I bring lunch to her, and we hang out, because I know that'll make it easy for her to say, yes, we're going to go, we're going to hang, we're going to eat, I'm going to bring lunch, we can go there, we can set some appointments, I share a little bit about the website, I go over her list again, we talk about goals, you know? So I try to capitalize on spending time with my recruits. How often am I practicing presentations? Look, if you're Shay, does she need to practice the front end of the presentation? No. But maybe, if there's something that I go over in training, maybe it's the dividend presentation, maybe it's certain parts of an American Fund brochure, maybe if it's a hypothetical, pull that stuff out and actually go through it. I'm not talking about the front end, I'm talking about things on the back end of the presentation. Some of the stuff that's going to make you money. Maybe you review Ian's notes and you say, what was he saying about survivor annuity? What was he saying about survivor pension benefit? What were some of these other things that he was saying? What was he saying about decreasing term? What was he saying about renewal rates? What was he saying about selling to single people? And you go through this stuff and you try to internalize it, so the first time you're doing it is not in front of a freaking client. This is what people are thinking about, you know, that are professionals. Any questions about those? How important is it to me to have new guests at the meeting? This is my big issue. Like, man, it's almost like I gotta retrain myself to have guests at the meeting every week at this Tuesday night, but I have to do it. If you're leaning on other people to bring guests to the meeting, you are in management. You just do what you need to do. People don't follow what you say, they follow what you do. This really, guys, we got to get back to this. There's no way that you can be having guests to Saturday and guests to the various Thursday night meetings and Tuesday, and us be as few recruits as we have right now. Invite people to the meeting. You can never say the wrong thing to the right person. Just get them there. Challenge, you may not personally have a guest there, but you may have provoked a guest being there through an orientation or challenging someone to bring people back their first time. Don't get away from, and I'm talking to myself, don't get away from the fundamentals in Primerica. We are a meetings business where we invite people to meetings. That's a core fundamental that you are not adhering to or participating in when we get away from stupid small things like this that can explode our business. People bringing people. How negotiable is my daily schedule? Number one, you have a schedule, okay? If you're a full-timer, if you're a part-timer, whatever, you should have one. If you're a full-timer, the schedule that you have, how negotiable is it? When you're supposed to be prospecting, do you get distracted? When you're supposed to be making the calls, do you get distracted? When you're supposed to be setting appointments, do you get distracted? When you're supposed to be in the field, do you get distracted? You cannot negotiate your schedule. If you do that, you are going to be back at a job. You're going to see people here. I'm not going to name names. A couple months they're a superstar. Next month, you never see them at a meeting, right? They're still in Primerica, but they had to go to a job because they couldn't discipline themselves with their own schedule. Now they're being disciplined by a boss. Talked to someone yesterday. He was like, yeah, man, it's crazy. 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I just laughed. I was like, damn, man, if you could just give me 2-3 hours a day versus what you were doing. But hey, man, you had a fun summer. You got to do whatever the hell you wanted, woke up when you wanted, did what you wanted, completely took advantage of the Primerica system, and now you are getting told what to do. 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. When your schedule is on point, people that are not in your business, family members, they're going to know where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And I talk about this a lot. You guys know when I'm at CrossFit. A lot of people know when I go see my parents, right? The people in my building, they know when I read. They know when I run in the morning. They know when I go to CrossFit. They know when I wear a suit, because it's rare. But they know those not. It's amazing when you do the same thing and it's attractive to people, right? And Hector taught us this a long time ago when he said, do you react to life or do you create your life, right? If someone says, hey, let's go do this, and I'm supposed to be reading and I go do, right? Or if someone says, hey, let's go here and I'm supposed to be going to a meeting, you're just completely getting pulled in all these different directions. You're just reacting to life. People have to know you do things when you're supposed to do them, and it's attractive, and they want to follow you, and they want to know about what you do. It's very attractive to people. Do I deserve a team? Okay? If you get a feeling that you don't deserve a team, most likely there's some things you have to fix about yourself. Being more committed. What does that mean? You're showing up. You're showing up early. The biggest thing that hurts people's confidence is punctuality. Right? Now, once in a while, you can overcome that if you're, a great producer or whatever. People will follow you for different reasons, but it gives you a sense of guilt when you're not doing the things that you need to do, and therefore you're not deserving and you don't put out a good energy there. attracts people. If you want to deserve a team, man, you got to be people first. You have to be people's best interest. You have to be leading with integrity. You have to be spending the time with people. You have to be investing in people. You have to be, not in a fake way, but complimenting, encouraging, telling people how proud of them you are. I mean, that's when you're going to deserve a team. Not just because you tell people to show up, right? Tell people how the system works. Tell people how much money they can make. Do you deserve a team? A lot of goals, right? This is, again, a psychological thing. A lot of goals that you set, nothing is going to be set without the feeling of you deserving. Right? You want to do more securities. Do you actually read about securities? Do you practice those presentations? Do you try it with clients? You know, are you overcoming your fear? Are you recruiting better people knowing they're going to take you in the securities market? So everybody wants to make more money in securities. Everybody wants to double their income. Everybody wants to have 50 people at a meeting, but ask yourself if you deserve it. Fix those things, then the goal is going to come, I promise you. Would a stud follow me right now? People say, "Oh man, I want to recruit a Sheila." Yeah, you can recruit her, but you know, producers are very demanding. Very demanding. They know what they're worth. You know? They want answers quickly. The right answers. They want to see that you can perform in front of a client. They want to see that you're following up, that you're doing the things that you say you're going to do. You know, with Sheila, I pretty much have a perfect record, but the other day, yesterday actually, she asked me, she goes, "Did you send that college application to the client in the mail?" Right? This is someone who didn't even do insurance. I didn't even want to do the college savings. But she asked me to do something I said I would do, and I was like, "No, I'll send it today," and she was not happy about it. Right? This is the stuff, man. It's like, that's one little thing. Other than that, I have a perfect record with her. Which is why she's loyal to me and she's doing what she's doing and all that. It's not, you know, that's what, imagine if I was someone who wasn't on it. You know, I'm working with someone right now, she sleeps maybe 3-4 hours a night. You think what, I can just wake up whenever I want, go to sleep whenever I want, do whatever I want, and someone like that is going to respond to me? She doesn't give two shits if I'm tired or not. She's tired. She doesn't care if I'm busy running businesses. She's running multiple businesses. She has a family to run. They don't care about your excuses. They want you to get results, be a good person, respond to them, be fast, be positive, and get things done. Oh, I wish I could recruit someone like that. Dude, they would flank you in a heartbeat. They know. Winners know other winners. Producers know other producers. Work on yourself. Then you can find anybody, dude. You can find, but can you retain? That's a different story. Finding and retention is two completely different things. A lot of my directs right now, I didn't recruit them, but they're my directs now because the person couldn't retain them. They couldn't even retain themselves. Right? Do the right thing so people will follow you. What minimum requirements do I tolerate from myself? Everybody has these minimums. For production, for recruits, for cash flow, for a number of people in a meeting. You know, when that meeting that we had last weekend, when it was coming, did you think to yourself, "Oh my God, I better not have any less than blank people there"? Do you have that minimum requirement of yourself? Mine was 100, and that wasn't even good, because how many did you have, Jen? A regional leader, how many did you have between you and Louise?
Yesterday?
No, Saturday.
107.
107. My minimum was 100. Her minimum was probably 100. Mine's not where it needs to be, but at least I have a minimum. thresholds that you set for yourself. The biggest one, outside of, we recruit, you have to have a cash flow minimum. It affects your self-image. It affects your self-worth. Am I competitive? Leaders are not qualifying for incentives, 1,000, 1,500. People lose week after week, top turnout. Your team sees you lose. Hawaii trips, people are in the running, out of the running. They don't hit these, these little bonuses. As a leader in Primerica, you absolutely have to be a competitive person. And anyone who's winning at a high level is. It can be competitive for different things, but you gotta be competitive. Reading, we talked about that. I mean, guys, again, I'm talking to full-timers. I don't know, this is like kindergarten of self-improvement. Writing down your goals, having a planner, and you have to read. Oh, I listen to audios. I talk to a lot of successful people that don't read, okay, to be honest. Here's the difference. They're not in the development business. Because there's a lot of successful people that make a lot of money that are in a transactional business. They're buying and selling houses. They're buying and selling cars. They're developing, but not people. They're developing developments, properties, shopping centers. They're buying and selling things. They're trading things. Now, they do self-improve. They do listen to audios, but that's a very passive way. This is just my opinion. It's a very passive way to self-improve. When I listen to an audio, right, I am sitting there with a notebook. It's like I'm reading, because I'm writing things out. What would be see, this is my mentality when I listen to an audio. I'm a speaker now, right? I have to do that. I do that for this organization, other organizations. I do it at colleges. I do it at networking meetings. I do it within Primerica. So what would be the point of me self-improving if I wasn't going to implement the things that I heard or regurgitated in some form of a speech one day? So I do very active listening and active reading because there's a point to my self-improvement. I've seen the way people listen to audios. They're walking around the office, it's kind of playing in their head thing. I wasn't there, but he talked about it. I mean, how much time we all have, you can't invest 20, 30 minutes to sit down and read something. People say, man, how do you always come up with these talks? I have to. If I don't put this stuff in my brain says, how am I going to have new ideas to always talk about in training? You think I can just watch news, TV, music, and then come up and, do a performance for 30, 40 minutes at a millionaire meeting and to open up a Saturday? And that's what it is. You know that, right? It's a performance. I rehearse it in my mind. I don't just come up there and freestyle it. I hear these things. I take notes. I formulate it in my mind. Everybody wants to do a good training. You have to constantly be putting new thoughts and ideas in your mind. We can skip over and say, oh yeah, everyone needs to read. Dude, you gotta have, this is a very important part of your day. Should I be winning? Do I even care? Right? This is the big one. Based on my current behavior and activity, will I have moved forward 6 months from now? This is a very serious question. I mean, I gotta think to myself, like, all right, my current behavior, self-improvement, on point, I can always get better, right? Activity, I'm in the field. My Tuesday isn't growing the way I want it to grow. Yes, I found 2 new, I think, stud direct producers, but they're not recruiting, which is dangerous because they can quit after they run out of clients. I better find them recruits fast, or else they may not even be here 6 months from now, and then where am I? Am I closer to being an SVP? Am I closer to getting ownership in 400,000 or 500,000 based on my current behavior? The answer is no. I will not be where I want to be 6 months from now. What changes do I need to implement? Who can these 2 new directs introduce me to so that I can replace them if necessary, or I can grow their businesses, which is obviously the #1 priority. But I got to get into the introduction business, the recruiting business, the growing meeting business very quickly before they expire and I have regrets. That's me. This is how life works, right? We're constantly thinking ahead, right? And so we're making decisions for that point in the future. That's a lot with money too. What are you doing with your money? If you do the right things with your money right now, you're going to have a lot of money in the future. Or you'll have more money than you would. If you're spending, making stupid decisions, then you're going to be broke here, right? What does Bill Arender say? Everything you have, everything you are, everything you've accomplished is what? Because of what you were doing 5 years ago. Profound. All right, so when we leave here today, licensing class, confirm, call everybody for tomorrow. Number 2, list of winners. I want you to make a list of winners now. Who's going to be at that hunt first? It's 3 directs. Okay, it's your own personal list, not for us, but it's like a goal almost, right? Or 1,500 personal premium. Yeah. I think it's the whole month.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the whole month inside. So we put it out there, how good are you at promoting it? Right? You're the messenger. People, what do we say in Primerica? When you're not talking about the business, they're not thinking about the business. You think they are, they're absolutely not. And then we have to create a Shaq wants a recruiting goal from now until the end of the year. Okay? Raise your hand if you're an RVP in here. Which I always tell the story at the time.
No, but I said 5.
Anybody? Okay. So, 90 days, how many recruits you guys need? Sophia? 30. Matt?
50.
Next number I already had.
Okay, so I'm going to take a picture of this. I know people are just throwing out numbers. People are saying, oh, double digit is 10, we can multiply. You know, look, not to say that anyone can't do it, but look, it ain't easy. I'm telling you right now, it is not easy to get to 20 recruits a month if you're used to doing 7, 8, 9, 10. It's just not. So how do you, these numbers here reflect, there's only one way that it can happen, through multiplication. If you don't have a business that's forcing multiplication, these numbers, it's impossible for this to happen. You don't have enough prospectors and interviewers and daytimers to create this unless you teach people how to multiply. That happens when? It happens everywhere. It happens when you're on the KT, steaming your clients. It happens with prospects, even when you get their number, do you know anyone else that I could give a call? It happens in interviews when you steam people and see who else do you know. It happens in steam calls when you say, who else do you know, right? And most importantly, it happens with new recruits, how quickly you can get them off to a fast start. I know one thing with Diana in Miami, right? They get their recruits for the person same day. Same day. What did Gary Cornegay Jr. tell you? He said, when I hire someone, I ask them, who can we see in the next 2 hours? Okay? That's the mentality if you want to hit these numbers. It's not going to happen because you said you were going to hit it or you're making a decision to make more calls. I promise you, you're not even going to come 50% close to your goal.